Welcome to Moonlight Story, a quiet place where we listen, relax, and slowly drift into sleep. Take a moment now to get comfortable wherever you are. Allow your body to settle into the place where you're resting. Maybe you're lying down in bed or resting somewhere soft and quiet. There is nothing you need to do right now. No tasks waiting for you, no decisions to make. Just a few quiet minutes to rest. Take a slow breath in through your nose and gently breathe out. Allow that breath to soften your shoulders just a little. Take another slow breath in and slowly breathe out again. As you breathe, notice how your body begins to settle naturally. Your shoulders relax. Your jaw softens. Your arms and hands rest easily beside you. If your mind still feels busy, that's perfectly okay. Thoughts often take a little time to slow down. Instead of trying to push them away, simply let them drift past like clouds moving slowly across the sky. Bring your attention back to your breathing. A slow breath in and a gentle breath out. With every breath, your body becomes a little heavier, a little more relaxed. Your forehead smooths. Your eyes rest comfortably closed. Your breathing becomes slower and softer. There's nowhere you need to go. Nothing you need to solve right now. Just this quiet moment of rest. And when your body begins to feel calm and settled, we can begin to imagine something peaceful together. Now, get comfortable and allow yourself to settle in. Take one slow breath in and gently let it go. Again, a calm breath in and an easy breath out. Imagine that evening has just begun in a quiet little town. The streets are calm, lit by warm golden lamps. Windows glow softly in the fading light, and flower boxes rest beneath them, full of blossoms that sway gently in the cool air. At the end of a narrow cobblestone lane stands a very small bakery. Its windows shine warmly onto the street. Fresh bread and sweet sugar scents drift through the air. Above the door hangs a painted sign that moves lightly in the breeze. Small, magical bakery. Flowers grow beside the entrance in neat pots, and as you watch, one bud slowly opens on its own, petals unfolding quietly in the dusk. Inside the windows, shelves are lined with cakes, buns, and pastries still warm from the oven. Tiny lights glow among jars of flour and sugar. Bowls on the counter stir themselves slowly. A wooden spoon turns in batter without anyone touching it. A tray of berries shines softly like little jewels. Everything feels peaceful here. Nothing loud. Nothing hurried. Only warmth, sweetness, and the quiet wonder of a place where gentle magic lives in everyday things. Behind the counter, Mary ties her apron and brushes a little flour from her hands. She moves calmly through the kitchen, ready to begin another evening of baking. Soon the ovens will glow. Dough will rise. Pastries will cool on the racks. And the bakery will fill with the scent of something wonderful. For now, take one more slow breath and let yourself step softly into this warm and magical little bakery. Mary walked behind the counter and lit the small oven with a gentle turn of the handle. At once, a warm golden glow filled the kitchen. The copper pans hanging nearby caught the light and shone softly against the walls. She set a large mixing bowl on the wooden counter and reached for a sack of flour. As soon as she opened it, a little puff of flour rose into the air like pale mist, then settled neatly into the bowl on its own. Mary smiled. The bakery always liked to help in small ways. She added sugar next. The crystals poured in a bright, sparkling stream. Then butter, cut into cubes that slid from the plate by themselves and landed softly in the bowl. A wooden spoon lifted from the counter and began stirring in slow circles. Mary poured in warm milk and cracked 2 eggs into the mixture. The spoon worked faster for a moment, folding everything together until the batter turned smooth and glossy. She touched the side of the bowl with one finger. Perfect. Nearby, a tray of blueberries glowed faintly in their basket, ready to be used. Mary picked a handful and scattered them into the batter. They sank slowly beneath the surface, leaving swirls of deep blue behind. She lined a baking tray with paper cups and filled each one carefully. The batter rose into little round mounds, dotted with berries. Then she placed the tray inside the oven. The door closed gently on its own. Soon the bakery was filled with the scent of vanilla, butter, and warm fruit. While the cakes baked, Mary wiped the counter clean and looked toward the front window. Outside, evening had deepened. The street lamps were brighter now, and flower petals near the door had begun to open one by one in the dark. Inside, the oven glowed steadily, and the first sweet treats of the night were almost ready. A soft bell rang from the oven when the little cakes were ready. Mary opened the door, and warm, sweet air drifted through the bakery at once. The blueberry cakes had risen perfectly, their tops golden and gently rounded. She set them on a cooling rack by the window. As they rested, a fine dusting of sugar floated down from a jar above, settling lightly over each one like fresh snow. Mary laughed quietly and thanked the bakery under her breath. Next, she moved to the long wooden counter where a mound of dough waited beneath a cloth. When she lifted the fabric, the dough had doubled in size, soft and smooth. She pressed it gently with both hands. It slowly sprang back. Ready. She divided it into small pieces and rolled each one into neat rounds. They lined themselves in rows across the counter as if they already knew where to go. Mary filled some with cinnamon and brown sugar. Others she spread with berry jam that shimmered faintly in the lamplight. Then she twisted the dough into swirls and knots, placing each bun onto baking trays. Nearby, tiny jars of spices rattled softly on the shelf. One lid opened by itself, and a warm scent of cardamom drifted into the air. Mary added just a little to the cinnamon filling. It smelled rich and comforting at once. When the trays were ready, they slid gently toward the oven on their own. She guided them the rest of the way and closed the door. Soon another wave of warmth filled the room. Butter, sugar, spice, fresh bread. The windows began to fog slightly from the heat inside. Outside, the night street looked calm and quiet beyond the glass. Mary poured herself a cup of tea and stood by the counter while the buns baked. There was still much to make before closing time, but there was no rush at all. Mary carried her cup of tea to the front window and stood there for a moment. Outside, the little street was peaceful under the night lamps. Light rested on the cobblestones, and the flower pots beside the door were full of blossoms now, each one opened wide in the cool evening air. Inside, the bakery felt warm and bright. She took a slow sip of tea while the buns baked behind her. Then a soft chime sounded from the counter bell near the register. Mary turned and saw the front door opening gently. An elderly man stepped inside, brushing the cold night air from his coat. He visited often and always chose the same thing. Mary smiled and reached for one of the fresh blueberry cakes. Before she could place it in a paper bag, the cake floated neatly into the bag by itself and folded the top closed. The man laughed quietly, as he always did. Mary handed it to him along with a small loaf of bread still warm from the shelf. He thanked her, tucked the parcel under his arm, and stepped back into the night. A few minutes later, a young woman came in for cinnamon buns. Then another customer stopped by for a jar of jam and 2 rolls. No one seemed surprised when the jars arranged themselves neatly or when coins slid gently across the counter into the till. The bakery's little magic had become part of the street long ago. Between visitors, Mary returned to the kitchen and opened the oven. The swirled buns inside were golden brown, with cinnamon bubbling softly between the layers. She set them on the rack to cool. At once, warm icing lifted from a bowl and drizzled itself in thin, shining lines across the tops. The sweet scent filled the room. Mary smiled again. Even after all these years, the bakery still found new ways to be kind. The evening grew quieter as the last few customers made their way home. Outside, the street lamps shone steadily, and the town had settled into a calm night rhythm. Inside the bakery, trays were nearly empty now. Only a few blueberry cakes remained beside 2 cinnamon buns and a loaf of bread cooling on the shelf. Mary tied fresh paper around the loaf and placed it near the door for the morning. She always liked leaving one ready for the first customer of the day. Then she moved back into the kitchen to begin cleaning. Warm water filled the sink by itself. Plates and spoons drifted gently into the bubbles, washing quietly together. Mary wiped the counters while jars returned to their places on the shelves. Flour sacks folded themselves neatly closed. Spices lined up in tidy rows. The bakery always became organized again before bedtime. She opened the back door for a moment to let in the cool night air. Behind the bakery was a tiny garden lit by moonlight. Herbs grew in neat beds, and small white flowers glowed softly among the leaves. Mary stepped outside and clipped a few sprigs of mint for tomorrow's tea. As she returned inside, the flowers along the back path slowly turned their faces toward her. She smiled and thanked them softly. Back in the kitchen, the last tray had cooled enough to move. It floated onto the shelf beside the others and covered itself with a cloth. Everything was nearly done now. The ovens had lowered to a gentle warmth. The lights glowed softer than before. And the little bakery, busy all evening, had begun to grow sleepy too. Mary checked the front shelves one last time and straightened the small labels beside each tray. There was just enough left for tomorrow morning. A few cakes, 2 buns, the wrapped loaf by the door. Perfect. She turned the sign in the window from open to closed, and the street outside seemed to grow even quieter. No more footsteps past the glass now. Only the soft glow of the lamps and the peaceful night beyond them. Mary lowered the oven flame until only a gentle warmth remained. The last scent of cinnamon and bread still lingered in the air. She liked that part most. When the baking was done, but the room still remembered it. One by one, the hanging lights dimmed themselves. The jars on the shelves gave a final soft shimmer, then went still. The bowls rested quietly on the counter. Even the wooden spoon settled into its drawer as if ready for sleep. Mary removed her apron and folded it neatly. Then she carried her cup to the small table by the back window and sat for a moment. Moonlight rested across the garden outside. The white flowers glowed faintly among the herbs. Everything looked calm and silver. She finished the last sip of tea and listened to the quiet bakery around her. No ovens humming now. No trays moving. Only stillness. She stood, blew out the final candle near the register, and took the key from its hook. At the door, she looked back once more at the warm little room that had worked beside her all evening. Then she smiled, stepped outside, and locked the bakery gently behind her. Inside, the shelves rested in the dark, and the small magical bakery settled peacefully into the night.